Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Prime View series of interviews with top business and technology experts. I'm Dana Kohut, and in this interview episode, I'm honored to welcome Irit Engel, who is VP of Product at Rookout. Irit has a fascinating career in technology, a bit unconventional one, I'd say. She has worked as a VP of product for over 6 years at Logs.io and just recently joined Rookout, building developer-first observability tool. Irit shares her immense knowledge and insights on how to make sure that product team and engineering team work effectively together. She shares some of the trends in the industry and provides a great inspirational example of being a successful woman in technology by mentoring young women in tech. It's a great interview and I really hope you enjoy it. And if you do, don't forget to hit the like button. Let me know and my team that you like our work. And don't forget to subscribe to the Prime View YouTube channel. Stay tuned and enjoy. You actually do have a remarkable career in technology. But for those who don't know you, maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on the career steps that you have taken in throughout your career, right? That have led you to your current position at Rookout.
Okay. Well, I started many years ago, 25, I think, as a developer. I had like more than a decade in developing and team leading in all kinds of companies here in Israel. I really loved writing code. It was a great passion. But after a decade, I felt that I need to try some other things. So I quit my job and I moved into a completely different direction. And 5 years after, I had my social worker degree, and I was certified as a cognitive behavior therapist. And
wow, that's very unusual shift.
Yeah. And then I kind of missed the technology world. I kind of missed the action. I missed, using different parts of my brain that's sitting two people in a small room doesn't give you. So I try to find something that will combine my passion to technology and the people skills I gain. And this is how I got to product. I started as a junior product manager at some ad tech company. I spent there about a year. And after a year, I got into Logs.io. Logs.io is, for those of you who don't know, it's an observability tool company. Logs, metrics, traces, everything, mostly DevOps and some developers needs in order to get to understand what's going on in their environment. I was the first PM there, and I grew with the company. It was a small startup when I got there, and then I became director and finally VP of product there. And after 6.5 years, I decided that I need a new adventure, and this is how I got to Rookout. Now I'm a VP of product at Rookout. And I think it was the best school I could have to prep me to my current job. I mean, I learned so much about the observability world. What are the obstacles? What are the pains? I'm new at Rookout, but I hope everything I learn will contribute a lot to what I do now.
Yeah, definitely. That's a fascinating road. And that part that you were a cognitive behavior, probably disorder therapist, and that now you mentioned this as the people skills that you have learned. I actually checked your profile and I could see that you've been there, as you said, over 6 years, and you build the teams and you build the products there. And Logs is really famous, is well known for the log solution, right? While Rookout, on the other hand, believes that logging is a bit of an outdated. So from your perspective, what role does logging play in debugging?
I did learn a lot about logs, about their shortcomings, about all the difficulties that comes with writing logs. I mean, logs are unstructured. They are something that when a developer writes his code, adds some logs to be able to understand what will happen when his code will run in production. This is almost the only tool that he has to figure out what is going on. But it's unpredictable, it's unstructured, and you have to write a lot of it in order to be sure that you covered, okay? You can never know which log you will need. And I think most of the years I spent at Logs.io, I tried to figure out how to help my customers find needles in huge haystacks, hundreds and millions of logs that most of them not really necessary. And when you need the specific log that you're looking for because something had happened, it's very hard to find it most of the time. So when I first heard about Rookout and what they do and the technology they have, it blew my mind because Rookout gives you a solution that you have all the information you need, much better than a log, the context of the information that you need when you need it, okay? So it's not something that you need to prepare for. It's not something that you need to pay so much money for. It's just there. So I think with this new technology of dynamic debugging, I think logs should step back to be more compliance, more for some one-time issue that happened and you need to investigate. You can call it down, reduce your cost by 70–80% on logging, and use this new technology that gives you everything you need exactly when you need it.
That is a fascinating part of the technology, right? That actually it can probably dramatically reduce the cost and also at the same time save a lot of time for your engineering and development team, which is a huge benefit for any business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as you said, like for many companies that would be, hey, we have to retrain our teams and there will be probably some resistance and pushback. So can you share how difficult or how easy it is to onboard Rookout tool? Is this something that can be done, like within a week, does not require any special training? What's the process like?
I mean, there's the first integration. It depends on the type of integration you need, but it can be very easy. It can be like a 30-minute work, even this. For a basic integration, we have on-prem hybrid integration, which is a little more complicated, and our UI looks pretty, it looks like an IDE. So it's something that, and we also have an IDE plugin, which means for the end user, it's very native. It's something that he's familiar with. It's the same as used to debug his local environment till now. So there's nothing new there, but it's a new way to work, and it's always difficult to make people change the way they work. So yeah, it's a struggle, and I mean, in a lot of companies that still have all the logs, this is their go-to. Reducing the logs helps a lot for Rookout's customers to engage more with Rookout because they don't have a fallback, so they use it and they get all the value that they need. Changing habit is challenging, most definitely challenging.
I believe many of our listeners and viewers are already familiar with observability, but what is developer-first observability? Can you, Irit, give us a little bit more detail? What is it? What is so special about it?
I think that the traditional observability tools are more DevOps oriented than developers, okay? I mean, they give the developers notion that something is wrong, but they don't give, they haven't yet find the best way, figure out how to help them really understand what's going on, okay? It really depends on him to prepare, I mean, write those logs in advance, but if he haven't done it, he'll be completely blind. Those observability tools don't solve this problem. So I think developer first tools needs to figure out this problem, this pain for the developer pain that in a world that is shifting left all the time, and developers are accountable for their code in production. They need all the information, all the tools, all the that will help them figure out what's going on. And developer first means that you need a tool that will follow your whole life cycle of development, from developing with the remote environments, through your testing, when deploying, when of course in production. In each of these steps, you need a tool that will give you all the information you need when you need it. And this is what we're focusing on.
I wanted to touch a little bit more on the product. So currently the trend in the tech industry is that we can see a lot of layoffs, right? And the industry in general, we can see that companies are trying to cut costs in different ways. And sometimes they are not maybe willing to invest into new tools, new technology. From your perspective, what is it? What is the extra value that you are building to your product that so many customers are willing to, use your product? What is it about?
I think this economy is a huge opportunity for Rookout. I mean, we are trying to educate the market. We are trying to tell companies that they should not depend on their logs anymore, and change the way they look at observability, and use dynamic debugging, and use tools that gives them information when they need it and don't consume so much data in advance. And changing habits. I mean, telling a VP R&D, tell your developers to change the way they debug their production, or change the way they through all the development life cycle is very hard. I mean, they need a great incentive to take this bold decision. And in 2023, cost is a wonderful incentive to say, okay, I mean, maybe it's gonna be some struggle. I'll have some struggle changing the way my people work, but on the other hand, I'm going to save 70-80% of my logging costs, which can translate in large companies to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, and even
That's
more.
That's a substantial sum, to start thinking about something different.
Exactly. So and replacing it with a tool that is not consumption based, but seat based, which you know how much it's going to cost you. It's not something that it's completely predictable, and it costs so much less while giving you so much more on observability perspective. It kind of makes you wonder, how come not every tech company in the world uses Rookout today?
Is this the part that actually was the most fascinating for you, that you decided to join the company?
I've looked around when I started looking for a job. I've looked around and I've interviewed in several companies, and the challenge here is solve pain of people with technology. Okay, the person is the developer, but he has his pain, he has his challenges, he has the things that he needs to solve, and the challenge comes from the technology that he's working with. So the combination between working with the person, trying to figure out what is the best way to help him solve his pain when he come in front of technology, this is what excited me most.
It's very interesting. And, building products and also at the same time managing engineering teams, since both of these teams are working on the same goal, right, to build a robust and efficient tool. But it can be a very difficult and challenging task to manage both of these teams. They have different priorities. So from your long experience, what are the tips and tricks that you can share with our audience on how to efficiently manage product and engineering teams?
I hear a lot of stories about the struggling between these two groups in a lot of companies. There are a difference of opinions and goals between those teams. I must say I've never experienced that. Two different departments, but I truly believe that we win together and lose together. And this is how I manage my team, is to work very, very closely together, which means that developers in my company are part of the process of defining the roadmap, are part of defining the process of finding the problems that you want to solve and think and how we want to solve it. They're part of the product design in that way, and they understand what we do and we understand why we do it. And they are very smart people. They have a lot of ideas, and just not using them is total waste from my perspective. So when they are part of the process, when they are part of the decision making, there are a lot less frustration. There are a lot less pushbacks. And on the other hand, I think and I believe that the product managers should understand and should have deep understanding in the developer needs, their architectural needs, they have tech debt, they have unknowns that they come across when developing stuff. And when each of the teams understand the others' limitations and what they struggle with, and the tolerance for mistakes are much higher, and they can work together to solve issues. From my experience, it works perfectly.
I really love these points that you have made. And, there will be a lot less pushback from any requirements that you set for engineering team once they were part of the defining roadmap for the product. Once they were part of it, so why would they resist it? And that is brilliant strategy, right? They have kind of skin in the game. So I really love this, and maybe I believe that could be useful for a lot of other, in the industry, product managers that maybe are just starting their career in this kind of domain.
They should try it. It works.
Yeah, definitely. And the same time, the other part. So you take the closer look into engineering teams and try to understand what is it that they are struggling with, what are their challenges, right? So they understand that you have best intention in mind, right, while working with them, which is a great approach. And this is probably why you succeeded so brilliantly building great products.
Yeah.
Great. So there is no formal education for product managers as such, right? So as you said, you were a developer, you took a bit side of the career, you were working in totally different field, and then you returned to the technology and became a successful tech leader. So what would be the key skills that you can identify as important to succeed in your role?
First of all, curiosity.
Okay.
I think modesty is even much more important. Product manager and a product leader doesn't have to have all the answers, okay? It's not a one-man show. It's not a one-woman decision. It's a process of the whole organization, okay? From the developer through sales and customer success. There are so many brilliant people around with thoughts, ideas, experience that you should use to understand what's the right way to go. So working with people, asking questions, be at the position that saying, I don't know things, help me understand. You know better than me. Let me help me and know what you know. I think it's a very important thing in being a good product manager. Another thing is the ability to prioritize. This is one of the most important. Being able to decide what is important and what is less important, because everything is important. And this is practice. This is something that you just practice, and this will lead me to my next bullet, which is be tolerant to make mistakes.
Okay, that is very important.
Working, I mean, you never know if what you're planning, if what you're thinking about, how it will meet the user, if it works. You think you have some genius idea, you work on it, you develop it, and then the users don't understand what to do with it or why to use it. Okay, so being a product manager means that you need to have the courage to try stuff. I mean, you need to be to fail fast, of course, to do discovery as much as you can, but you need to be to know that most of the time, if not all the time, on your first launch, you won't get where you want to go, and and see it as an opportunity to understand what's working and what, more important, what doesn't work, and improve all the time. So being able to say, I take decision which I know that might be a mistake. It's hard in general, and in this world that we all want to succeed, we all want to show that that we know. But I think this is one of the most important thing for a product manager, to have to dare and to do mistakes and fix them.
Yeah, those are great points. And, I really loved about the curiosity and the part about the modesty. And it's very important, right? So, as you said, we all want to be seen as strong professionals that don't make any mistakes. It's important to understand that, sometimes reaching out for help or picking up your team's brain or your peer's brain is equally important, right? And does not diminish your skills or your experience.
Yeah, and know that you will take decisions that won't work. And you don't see it as failing. You see it as an opportunity to grow, to take the next decision, to make your product better.
Yeah, but I believe it can be tough.
If you know that mistakes is okay, if you don't feel so bad about them, people around you won't look at it as a failure. I mean, if you look at it as a failure, people around you will look at it as a failure. If you look at it as, okay, I tried something, it didn't work, what I'm gonna learn for that, how I'm gonna be better, I'm gonna fix it and make it better, people around you will look at it as an opportunity to be better, to grow, and not as a failure.
There are not so many women in technology, and it's makes me specifically very happy to see you in this high position, right, in a tech company. Many women talk about having mentors or having, some kind of support in the industry that could help them, pave their way in the career. Is this your case as well? Have you had a mentor or mentors in your career that have actually impacted you and your career?
I had my mother.
Okay.
My mother was a construction manager. She managed huge construction site, working with the construction workers.
You had a great role model. She was,
she was
typical.
I mean, yeah, I have women around me. She didn't. She was a single woman in a man's world. And I think what I learned from her, without knowing that there is, I didn't have a glass ceiling over my head. I didn't know that I have a glass ceiling over my head. I never asked myself if I can do something, and mostly I never asked myself if they will let me. If I wanted to do something, I just went and did it. And most of the time they let me, so it worked. And it took me a lot of years to understand that I'm privileged in this way, because I had this amazing role model, and I thank her for being the best role model there is for a girl. And while I'm mentoring some women in my own company, and probably I will start doing it in Rookout soon. I mentored some wonderful young women in the industry, and yeah, it's hard for a lot of them to be women among very masculine, or I don't know if masculine is the right word, but a manly environment. But I think that when you fit in, when you take aside, when you manage to feel comfortable to speak and be present and not be afraid all the time if I'm accurate enough, if I know what I'm speaking about, if what they will think about what I'm saying, and just speak out and be part of the conversation. It's so empowering, and it helps you feel that you can be more, and you can be and grow to be a manager and a VP along the way. I worked a lot with my mentees at Logs.io, and it's just a question of not worry so much about what they will think. Just be there, just trust yourself that you are smart enough, and and it's okay to make mistakes, by the way. It's same as what we talked about before. Everyone makes mistakes. We don't need to worry about it. Say what you think, be part of the conversation, be present, and things will happen by themselves.